worry about my son. Is he going to be a good kid as a teenager?
I worry about the future of America. Are we becoming a nation of haves and have-nots?
It was kind of a shock to hear that 1 out of 3 kids drop out.
That's really alarming. It's scary to hear that.
Shocking, actually. I didn't realize it was even that high.
It's surprising. It's unfortunate.
It doesn't make me feel good.
It's just sad.
Like, why? What could they possibly want to drop out for? That many of them.
So we decided to find out, and we hit the streets.
We talked to parents and teachers and school administrators, but the real reasons came from the kids.
School was just like to hold me over between the weekends where I would party. I mean, that's basically what it came down to. I was just that kid who was, oh dude, where's the party at, you know? What are you doing this weekend? You know, I wasn't worried about the schoolwork. I would just go to school for social. You know, the social aspect, to talk to people, girls or whatever.
I was just like, well, there's nothing wrong. I just don't want to go to school. But the real reason was what was wrong is that I was depressed, I was angry, and I mean, I just didn't want to go to school. I was angry at the whole world. I was angry at myself for not knowing why.
I started selling drugs sophomore and freshman, like towards the end of freshman year. So it was like the best time to be out selling drugs in the morning.
I was out hustling. It's like, since you can't get a job, you gotta like find somewhere to make money, you know.
They kicked me out because I brought a weapon to school. 3 weapons to school, and that's how they kicked me out.
This is harder work than Bill might be doing in the classroom right now. What makes him trade English, math, history, science for a broom and $1.10 an hour? Why is a dropout? School people in many American cities have been asking this question, checking cases like this one, doing research, thinking hard about so terrible a waste of youth, so big a leak in our manpower reserve, so great a failure in our educational system. But the reasons why a third of these students will leave school without diplomas are not simple.
Today, only 1/3 of students graduate from high school ready for college, work, and citizenship. 1/3. The other 2/3, most of them low income and minority students, are tracked into courses that won't ever get them ready for college.
The right education is a prerequisite for success. There was a time when if you just got a high school education and you were willing to work hard, you can get a job in a trade or at the factory that paid a middle-class wage. And those days are declining. The currency of today's economy is knowledge.
Wait a minute. Has nothing really changed over the last 40 years? We decided to find out firsthand, so we hit the streets.
It was kind of a shock to hear that 1 out of 3 kids drop out.
That's really alarming. It's scary to hear that.
Shocking, actually. I didn't realize it was even that high.
It's surprising. It's unfortunate.
It doesn't make me feel good.
It's just sad.
That's sad, really sad. I don't know. I'd be curious to know why.
Like, why? What could they possibly want to drop out for? That many of them.
I have a couple friends that dropped out of school, but it was because they had kids. Sometimes it's kids, other pressure, because they need to work and stuff and help their families, and they drop out because they say they don't need school.
Well, mainly the reason why a lot of people I know dropped out because of circumstances, not just because of just the education part. The fact is, the parents are not making enough money. They need money to, to support themselves, so they take jobs.
Yeah, I needed to help out at home, and so I dropped out to help out at home.
So I went through to about up to 6th grade, not doing anything, and I started hanging out like and I wanted to be cool, right? Because I was always like a dork in elementary school. So I figured out the whole clique thing, right? So I started hanging out with like 8th graders and stuff. High school, I started like skateboarding and hanging out with up higher like seniors and juniors, and the whole party phase went on, right? And I was just hanging out with a lot of kids that just basically didn't care about school either. I mean, I never passed school, so why should I care now?
Because, yeah, when I went to school, I didn't really like going to school because I skipped a lot. And I didn't really care. I'm like, well, I need to go to school. I'd rather get a job than go to school.
I was young. I was making good money, you know, get a paycheck every week, and I had a nice car and all kinds of nice toys, you know, and I'd go to school and it was just a different world, you know. School was more socializing for me.
It was boring to me. I couldn't stand it. I didn't like school. I didn't like people. So I just stayed at home and slept, or I went out with my friends and smoked, did a lot of drugs. I mean, so it was just not, so I just thought I was a grown-up, and then nobody could tell me anything else, that I was always right.
Clearly a lot was going on for these kids. We wanted to know if their stories matched several reports and studies we found from organizations like the Gates Foundation and ETS about why kids drop out of school. Most of these studies show the number one reason kids drop out of school is because they're bored.
Like in history class, it's like you're sitting there, you're reading this big old long packet, then you gotta read through it for like 45 minutes till you get to the end, answer the questions. It's like it's too time consuming. You're taking too much time doing the same thing, and it just gets boring after a while. And then like a lot of the time, the teachers won't have you do any type of group activity. They'll just throw you the textbook, and then tell you to do it.
Because the teacher, he did nothing but talk, and I fell asleep. And that's why it seemed kind of boring.
It's boring. I mean, kids like to learn hand-on. I mean, you know, I think kids would have a lot more fun if they got to learn, you know, with their hands. Like, okay, say it's math. Use money. Use cooking.
We have no hands-on learning here. I can't think of anything that we do hands-on. It's all you read out of your textbook and you do your worksheets. No hands-on.
In the business that I work in, when I have a child that sits across from me and says I'm bored in school, red flags go up all over, because that is the catchphrase for something's not working and I need help and I cannot tell you what is wrong.
Another reason kids leave school, according to the reports, has to do with peer pressure, hanging out with other kids who aren't focused on school.
If you're in a group of friends who are just kind of blah, they don't really care about school, you're like, yeah, I don't care either. You might care, but you do things that you otherwise wouldn't do when you're by yourself.
If your kids really hang out with the wrong crowd, they will start missing school, because if your best friends are leaving to go smoke weed or whatever, you're just gonna be like, it's just one day, I'm gonna miss it. I can make it up, you know. That's how you feel like, you know.
I'm gonna just do this one day.
I'm gonna just do this one day. Yeah, I'm gonna make up the work, all that, and then next period you see yourself like, I don't need this class that much.
It's just like quitting smoking. You tell yourself, you like, I'm gonna quit today.
Yeah.
Okay, just one more cigarette, I'm gonna quit tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, and if your kids get caught up with the wrong crowd, it's kind of hard for them to just stay in the school, because all of their friends, you can see them leaving or going to smoking, and you're really thinking, wow, that's really cool. You know, these kids are really cool. I better hang out with them. You know, I'm gonna get into that cool crowd or whatever.
Do you think who your friends are influences a kid's opinion about school?
Yeah, because they're like messed up their future, and I think you should mess up your too. Like they want you to be like them.
In society today, you know, based upon what you wear, how you dress, how you talk, how you walk, people think like they judge you automatically. You know, it's like, oh, he's a thug or he's a nerd. You know, like.
Yeah, I think at this age, probably drugs and friends and influences
Trying to
of your friends. Trying to fit in basically, because in school there's a lot of outcasts, and you never want to be one because
You
you're
wanna
always
try
the
to
one
fit
getting you're always the one getting teased and stuff. So doing drugs is cool because that's what everybody else does, or so people
It
think.
makes you fit in.
Most of my friends didn't really care about school. Most of them were like me, never really did good in school, or they got expelled for some reason. Most of them didn't see school as a priority. You are who you surround yourself with. And I mean, if everyone is going to have kind of the same mindset, like you don't see someone who went to Harvard hanging out with someone who dropped out of high school, you know?
One of the most important things I think about, especially teenagers, is that they have to feel they belong, and they have to feel that they're doing something worthwhile. And so it's not just doing something to please an adult, because that's the last thing they want to do.
It's a vicious cycle for these kids. Once they start skipping school, their homework piles up, the assignments are due, they're already bored in class, so it becomes even harder to get them back on track. So they decide, that's it, I quit, I'm gonna drop out.
One class had that much work, and I didn't have some teacher say, "Oh, yeah, I'll help you, I'll make sure. Here, come in after school for movies and tests." She never bothered about me the rest of the semester. I had that and like a ton of other work in different classes. How am I supposed to make that up when no one even cares?
When I felt like dropping out wasn't because like things was boring. It's just like I felt like, okay, I'm gonna be a senior next year, and I have 6 credits, and I didn't feel like I was gonna catch up in time. That's what made me want to drop out. So
It's like I was falling behind too. It's like don't go to class, and then like piles of homework, piles of projects. Like teachers try to help me out and stuff, like go to school, do it. They say I can make up my work, but I'm like, it's too much, like I can't handle it. So it's good.
If you miss days of school, I don't think you should have sitting time. I think if you're doing your work and you're actually getting good grades, you should still get credit. And it's ridiculous that, if you miss this many days of school, you don't get credit. Some people have to miss school. There are legit reasons why people have to miss school. Like in the class, someone mentioned a family member getting murdered. That is a legit reason, and they should have been able to miss school and just make up the work.
Making the move from junior high to high school can be tough for many kids. If they don't get a good foundation at a young age from their parents about how to be disciplined, set boundaries, and follow the rules, due to the daily pressures they face in school, many of them drop out.
Boundaries are good. Kids like boundaries. They like being told
We may
not
say we
to.
hate them, but they
But
really
yeah,
are.
we kind of love them.
Yeah.
And it's like we want boundaries.
I don't have those boundaries.
Because, then when you don't have
So I have to make them myself, and it's hard to try to do it yourself.
Because of where you're living.
Yep, and you have to create your own boundaries, and it's really hard because you're like, well, if I go over my boundary, what's going to happen? Nothing.
But the thing is,
Yeah,
you have
you're not
people
gonna punish
supporting
yourself.
you.
Yeah.
Well, before I loved freedom, but now I like it. But to a certain extent, I do need boundaries and restrictions.
It's bad that I skip school, but then after I get home at like 5 to go to work, so all my homies come over, and then we go out and we do our thing, and then I just come home before they get home at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I just go to sleep before like they come home when they notice.
These reports were great. It gave us a starting point to explore why so many kids are dropping out. But each kid that we spoke to had a unique story and a very, very compelling and real reason for them to drop out. We're talking about kids that have had, drug issues, kids with broken homes, kids with, immigrant parents that cannot speak the language. These kids are going through a lot. So it's really important that we listen to their stories and what they have to say. Forget about the reports and what the adults have to say.
Just partying all the time, not caring. School was just like to hold me over between the weekends where I would party. That's basically what it came down to. I was just that kid who was, "Oh, dude, where's the party at, What are you doing this weekend?" I wasn't worried about the schoolwork. I would just go to school for social. you know, the social aspect, to talk to people and girls or whatever.
Like, they're my freshman year. I just started skipping, going downtown, playing games, and then, yeah, that's it.
And what caused you to start skipping?
Like projects that were due, and I didn't do them, so you skip like 5 days, and then it just becomes a habit. So I skipped for like a year and a half.
And those kids though, like, how did you guys meet at school but then leave school, or how did you?
Yeah, we met up at school, and then we walked to like a store to meet up, and then we just catch the metro. And then we just go down there and play. We go back to school to catch the school bus home. You know, our parents wouldn't know about it.
And did the school not call the parents?
I mean, yeah, they call, but then there's like, they call, but they leave like a computer. A computer talks to the phone, so you can just hang up, and then your moms wouldn't know about it.
When does a computer call?
Usually around 4 or 5.
So you get home right then and catch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very smart.
Sometimes to set up a conference, but you can easily just like forge your mom's name and say that she can't make it, and then the school just doesn't try again. That's all.
Do you think that the kids that you were hanging out with, like, did you make your own choice and decide to leave school, or do you think those kids influenced you?
I basically made my own choice, and I think they just followed me and then did the same.
So you were the leader of the pack.
Not really. It was like this, everybody had the same mind. Everybody just, one day just skip one day, and then we try to go back to school, make a bet how long we can go back to school for, but it's only like 2 days until we start skipping again. And it's usually because when we go back into the classes, we have all these projects due, and then no one's like done it, so we decide to skip again.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it felt like you're so far behind that sort of like, what's the point?
Yeah, kinda.
Did any teacher talk to you? And
not really.
No.
The teachers didn't say anything. I just told myself I ain't gonna go back to school, and then all the the problems go away. Like homework, whatever, you don't even think about it no more. It's just go and have fun.
I think it's like the amount of work they give in school, like basic school to them. They get too much work, you know. It's like you have 6 periods, and then what do you get homework from all those 6 periods? It's like you have to do 4 hours of homework. I'm not that concentrated, so like I do an hour of homework. The next day I come in, she's just like, "Where your homework?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't do it yet." That's it. Minorities, you know, parents, like some of them are like Spanish, Asian, Vietnamese, whatever. It's like when you send home the report card, the parents are like, what grade you get, you know, A, B. Some of them don't even look at the report cards. They're just like, yeah, and then they don't look at the absence either, you know. They can't like read it, and then it's like when you make fake excuses, you can write whatever you want, you know. Parents look at it, they're like, what's this? You're like, oh, it's my homework, you gotta sign it. So the parents sign it, you just turn it in, skip school, you know. It's easy.
Well, I worked that night, so I think that had something to do with it too, because I would get off like at midnight or 11 and have to get up at like 6 in the morning the next day. So I wouldn't make it every day, you know, I would just want to sleep in.
Of course. You were working that late schedule?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when are you supposed to get your homework done? And
Yeah, I had no time to do homework and stuff like that.
I'm 17, and my criminal history background is I got 2 robberies and 1 burglary. I've done a lot of other stuff too, and I was in for some other kind of stuff too, but I got out this summer before like school started, and I came out here. I used to stay at like my own neighborhood, which was bad, you know, and then I came out here, and then I got introduced to John, talked to my PO, and then just started like get a job around here and go to school, and then just try to change your life. And then like if I go back to my neighborhood, you know, everybody else, what they're doing over there is like different what I'm doing over here, because like it's far and I stay here now. So I don't be kicking it with them that much, and I'm just over here just trying to make my money and just go to school.
Now it kind of has a lot of things to do with the single parents
as to why people are being gang members or getting out of school because they don't have both parents looking down on them.
I started selling drugs sophomore and freshman, like towards the end of freshman year. So it was like the best time to be out selling drugs at the morning time because everybody's in school or everybody's at work or doing something. So then I did that until I got caught up or whatever. And then that's when I just...
And so with your, what caused you, so it was more of the girlfriend and wanting to spend time that caused you to start missing school in the beginning?
And selling drugs, winning extra money on the side.
So just missing school because, you wanted to make money, so there was no reason to go to school?
Yeah, because money was my number one priority, not education. But I really regret that now because now I feel like, dang, one more year I'd be graduating.
What changed you? Like, was there a moment? Was there something that happened? Was there someone? What made that switch go off? Like, where you say, I don't want to live that way anymore?
After, because I got caught selling drugs, 3 times, but only one really stuck and it didn't even really stick because I did a little thing called deferred disposition where you do community service and probation and they wipe it off your record. And then I just decided that there's no way to do it without getting caught because I know people old that do it and still get caught. And so I just decided that it wasn't for me. And then, so after that, it was too late to try to go and do education because I was so far behind. So now I have to get my GED and just try to start off at a community college and then proceed on to a university from there.
I was just like, well, there's nothing wrong. I just don't want to go to school. But the real reason was what was wrong is that I was depressed. I was angry. And, I just didn't want to go to school. I was angry at the whole world. I was angry at myself for not knowing why.
When being pregnant in school, you talked a little bit about that was hard. Was it you or somebody else in our room that said...
That was someone else.
Somebody else said she was uncomfortable.
But it is hard because people want to judge you. They do a lot of wrong, but they'll be the first to stone you. They'll be the first to judge you if you are pregnant in school or if you're having sex. Oh, she's a whore, or she's a slut, or he da-da-da this or he's that because they got a kid or because they're pregnant or because, there's stereotypes here, and that needs to stop. People will feel a lot more comfortable if they're just themselves. People try to please everyone else, and honestly, I tried to please so many people as a teenager, and you know what I realized is that before you can please anyone else, you gotta please yourself, and people will like you just for you, and I think a lot of more people would be happier if they just were themselves and went to school and stopped trying to please everyone because you'll know your true friends by the way you truly act.
Because they kicked me out because I brought a weapon to school, 3 weapons to school, and that's how they kicked me out. They said I couldn't come for till next year, a whole year. So I needed to get back in school. So that's when I went to New Star.
And did you know that you weren't supposed to bring weapons to school?
Yeah, I did, but it kind of went through my mind, should I bring it, should I not? I forgot to take it out, and it was in my backpack, so the principal already went in there to check, and they found the weapons.
Do you think that you should have been kicked out for having 3 weapons in your bag at school?
Yeah.
What did you have?
A gun, a baton, pepper spray.
Why did you have those?
Supposedly some people wanted to beat me up and stuff like that. Yeah.
How did you know about someone wanting to beat you up?
Because I heard a rumor around there that's been going on. Then a week later, I fought actually a week before that happened. I fought with 2 guys because they were messing around with me. They were saying stuff to me. I got pissed.
So what do you mean when they were messing around with you? Did they assault you?
Yeah, they started saying hella stuff, bad words to me and all that stuff.
This was in school or outside?
Yeah, in school.
So that's where you took something.
Do you feel like schools aren't safe for kids and that's why you had to defend yourself? Like the principals and the teachers are not going to protect
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that the principal knew about it and didn't do nothing. Yeah, that's why.
And you look like you're a strong guy. You're not a little pipsqueak, but you still feel like you needed weapons.
Yeah, because it wasn't like 2, it was like 20 or 10. Yeah.
That's scary, and I'm sure also, is it hard to focus on your schoolwork and your homework when you're just worried about some kids beating you up?
Yeah, because you're thinking like what they're going to do and stuff like that. Like, what should you do? Like, yeah, stuff like that.
So you didn't have anyone that you could have talked to there to get some help?
Not really.
Having to defend yourself?
Not really. Because, I don't think the teachers really care.
To stop this dropout epidemic, yes, it would be incredible to have as much funding for our schools as we do for our military, but don't hold your breath. The good news is that there are a lot of little things we can each do today that will make a big difference in keeping kids in school.
I think we need to, as adults, we need to put this mirror in front of us and say, what are we doing? What are we doing which is impacting these youngsters in our personal issues, family issues, community issues? And I think people need to be absolutely honest about this, that expect performance from our school systems, don't walk away from that, but put some expectations on the community and our people who take care of them beyond the school time too. Because I don't think people talk about that enough.
To do so well in school, and then I take a look at their family life, and their parents are very supportive of them, and it seems to have a direct correlation with their study habits.
Children get a lot of their values from parents. They adore the people that look after them. They look at them as role models. They need to have somebody be a good role model. If they see the parents reading, then they're going to read. If they see the parents being polite and being respectful, then they're going to be respectful and polite too. No matter what happens outside the home, they have this basic core that they can fall back on.
My mom would never ever let me drop out of high school. I never had the thought, but if I ever even tried, it would be impossible, because she would take, every measure necessary and probably take me to boot camp before I dropped out.
I mean, your kid is your first priority before anything, before work, before anything. Your kid is your first priority. If there's something going on with my kid, I'm going to ask, what's wrong? What is my kid going through to make him or she feel this way? That's something that all parents should wonder. Why is my kid depressed? Why is my kid angry? Let me sit down and talk to my kid. What kind of help can I give my kid?
I feel that your parents, no matter how old you get, even if you're after you hit teenage years, that your parents should still be on you about going to school. Even though they feel like you should be your own person, they should still be calling up to the school, seeing, okay, is Lonnie in school today? Okay, why is it that he's had 3 unexcused absences this week and no one's called me?
Good morning, dear teacher. Good morning to you.
When I was growing up in England, a teacher had some sort of social status. Here they don't. If you're a high school teacher, you're only a high school teacher. You're not somebody in industry, or you're not a scientist, you're not a this or that.
Something that I've always thought about is, I had a teacher here, my English teacher, and I emailed him saying that I was dropping out of his class, and I never got an email back, and that kind of hurt me a little bit.
In my mind, it's kind of like you get what you pay for. If you're paying somebody low in any other job, you get what you pay for. So how can you expect somebody that's getting low wages to be, the superhero?
It's incredibly important, and I think study after study show how that is incredibly important, that young people have at least one adult in their life. Just one, and if that's a teacher, that's great. And some of the young people I work with go back to those teachers in some way. They've dropped out, they moved on, but they still see that one person as a positive connection.
I think the biggest problem at this school is mostly teacher influences.
Oh.
Because some of the teachers don't have boundary lines, and it conflicts with some students. Like,
what do you mean by boundary lines? Like too much of a friend, or different types of boundary lines?
Different types. It's actually things they shouldn't say in class, and
offends people.
Yeah, just offensive statements and
like statements that would make a kid feel uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly.
Like about race or your sex or all of the above.
All of the above.
You don't get a positive feeling about yourself. Generally, you become what you've defined yourself as. So if we don't get an opportunity to find positive role models inside yourself within your community, we're breeding loss, and it's really sad.
No, I ain't got a role model.
Just yourself right now.
Yeah.
In my family, there's not a big line of graduation and people that graduated, so I'm trying. My sister was actually the first one in our generation to graduate, and I want to be the second.
Good for you. What an accomplishment.
I want to be the first. None of my cousins graduated yet.
So I gotta go back to school and get on the right track, because I got sisters younger than me that are gonna look at me and be like, well, she didn't go to school, so neither do I guess. Yeah, I don't have to either.
Do you have more kids in your family?
Like 2 younger brothers.
How are they doing in school?
I keep them in school. Like, I'm strict with them, because what happens to me, I don't want to happen to them. It's like, I tell them, like, don't fall behind, because that's not where you want to be, you know? Because, like, they're not meant for the gangster life.
I done saw everything, been through everything, done tried everything, you know what I mean? From crack to meth to all that stuff, you know what I mean? And it just, in my heart, I knew that wasn't for me. And that's what people gotta realize. You gotta know what's for you. If you wanna be this person that's not gonna do nothing with yourself when you get older, that's what you gonna become.
What if we stop complaining about funding and what's wrong with the school system, and instead focus on what each one of us can do as parents, as teachers, as neighbors, as students, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, whatever we can. Maybe that way we'll build a strong future for America, one kid at a time.
It's time to stop just talking about education reform and start actually doing it. It's time to make education America's national mission.